No warning, no power, no plan. And it started like any other day. People were getting ready for work, cooking breakfast, sending messages to friends, planning their schedules. But in an instant, the lights cut out. Phones stopped working. Traffic signals blinked off. Elevators froze. Emergency lines were flooded. Spain and Portugal were suddenly plunged into darkness. No one knew what had happened. No one knew how long it would last. And no one was prepared. Within minutes, shops shut down. Gas stations couldn't pump fuel. People scrambled to find flashlights, water, and answers. What had begun as a quiet morning became a national emergency. Could you survive 72 hours without power? No power. No phone. No warning. What would you do if the grid failed right now? Could you survive for 72 hours without electricity, internet, or running water? What if it wasn't just your neighborhood, but the entire country? That's no longer a distant threat. It's a reality people in Europe faced just days ago. And it's a scenario more and more of us could face in the near future. This is your guide to getting ready. This video isn't just a survival checklist. It's your full guide to understanding how blackouts happen, why they're increasing, and how to build a blackout survival kit that could save your life. Whether you live in a crowded city, a quiet rural town, or anywhere in between, this guide will show you what to prepare, how to secure your home, how to communicate when networks fail, and how to stay safe, calm, and in control when the grid goes down. Blackouts are no longer rare events across the world. Power grids are under pressure. From natural disasters and cyber attacks to aging infrastructure and energy instability, blackouts are becoming more frequent, more widespread, and more unpredictable. In 2021, millions of people in Texas lost power during a deep freeze. In South Africa, rolling blackouts are a daily reality. In Lebanon, the entire grid collapsed. And now, parts of Europe have joined the list. Whether it's a solar flare, a coordinated attack, or just overloaded systems, the truth is clear. We are more vulnerable than ever. And the time to prepare is not after the blackout begins, it's right now. Why blackouts are no longer rare. On April 26, 2025, the entire Iberian Peninsula was thrust into an eerie silence. What began as a flicker of lights in the northern cities of Portugal quickly spiraled into a national emergency. Power lines collapsed under unexplained surges, and within 45 minutes, most of the country had gone completely dark. As the outage crossed into Spain, major cities like Madrid, Valencia, and Seville lost electricity without warning. Within hours, millions were left without access to light, communication, transportation, or even clean water. Airports grounded planes. Hospitals switched to backup generators. Trains stopped in tunnels. Cash registers, ATMs, and digital locks became useless. The panic was instant and raw. People rushed to grocery stores, only to find shelves empty and doors locked. Gas stations couldn't operate their pumps. Families were separated as mobile networks crashed. Traffic spiraled into gridlock, and emergency hotlines became unreachable. What made it worse was the uncertainty. No one knew what had caused it. Was it a technical failure? A cyber attack? Sabotage? Rumors spread faster than facts, and for a full 16 hours, modern civilization ground to a halt across two nations. While power was eventually restored, the event exposed just how fragile our modern systems truly are. The blackout wasn't caused by a massive hurricane, or war, or a once-in-a-century disaster. It was triggered by an unstable grid facing rising demand, aging infrastructure, and possible external interference. The event left not just a technical scar, but a psychological one. It showed millions how quickly the comforts of daily life could disappear. Spain and Portugal are not isolated cases. They are part of a growing pattern. In 2021, a brutal winter storm hit Texas, shutting down the state's power grid for nearly a week. Over 4.5 million homes lost electricity during freezing temperatures. More than 200 people died as a result, many from hypothermia, carbon monoxide poisoning, and house fires started by makeshift heating methods. The Texas blackout wasn't just about cold weather. It was about an unprepared grid pushed past its limits. In Lebanon, the collapse was even more total. Years of economic crisis, fuel shortages, and government mismanagement culminated in October 2021 when the country's entire electrical grid stopped functioning. Overnight, the nation was plunged into darkness, with people relying on diesel generators to power homes and hospitals. But even those stopped running as fuel became unavailable. For weeks, millions of Lebanese citizens experienced life without power, refrigeration, banking, or online communication. The blackout wasn't a blip. It was a new normal. South Africa faces a different kind of challenge. There, rolling blackouts, known locally as load shedding, have become routine. Power is systematically cut off in different regions for hours at a time to prevent the entire grid from crashing. These outages disrupt businesses, schools, and hospitals on a daily basis. The unpredictability has sparked protests, economic losses, and a growing sense of frustration. The country's power utility, overwhelmed by debt and mismanagement, simply cannot meet rising demand. Globally, the pattern is undeniable. Power outages are no longer rare, isolated events. They are increasing in both frequency and intensity. According to the International Energy Agency, reported blackouts worldwide have doubled in the past decade. In the United States alone, the number of major grid disturbances has increased by over 70% since 2010. From wildfires in California to hurricanes in Florida to ice storms in the Midwest, the US grid is aging and overstressed. And in countries with less developed infrastructure, the situation is even worse. There are many reasons why this is happening. Energy demand is surging. With electric vehicles, smart homes, and growing populations, the load on power grids has never been higher. At the same time, many grids were built decades ago and are struggling to keep up. They weren't designed for the digital age, for decentralized power sources, or for the climate volatility we now face. One extreme weather event or system failure can now trigger cascading outages across entire regions. But it's not just about weather or aging equipment. Human interference is playing an increasing role. Cyber attacks on power infrastructure have become a real and rising threat. In 2015, hackers took down Ukraine's power grid, leaving over 230,000 people in the dark. It was one of the first known instances of a coordinated digital assault on national infrastructure. Since then, similar attacks have been attempted in the US, Israel, and India. These aren't theoretical threats, they are rehearsals for something bigger. The threat of electromagnetic pulses, or EMPs, adds another layer of concern. Whether from solar flares or high-altitude nuclear detonations, EMPs can fry electronics and cripple entire power systems. In 1859, a massive solar flare known as the Carrington event disrupted telegraph systems across the world. If a similar event happened today, it could wipe out satellites, power stations, and digital communications globally. NASA scientists have warned that we are overdue for another geomagnetic storm of that magnitude. The question is not if, but when. And while we often focus on the technical aspects of blackouts, we must not ignore the human side. Darkness affects more than just visibility. It affects the mind. The psychological toll of a prolonged blackout is profound. In the absence of electricity, there is no news, no entertainment, no distraction. People feel isolated, anxious, and disoriented. In disaster psychology, this is called cascading stress. First comes confusion, then fear, then desperation. When people feel powerless, literally and emotionally, they often panic. During the Spain-Portugal blackout, reports surfaced of neighbors screaming across balconies, trying to contact family without phones. In Texas, some people burned furniture to stay warm. In Lebanon, desperate families bartered medications and food by candlelight. These are not scenes from dystopian fiction. They happened. And they could happen again, anywhere. The most dangerous thing about blackouts isn't just the loss of power. It's the loss of predictability. When you can't trust that light will come back, or that your fridge will stay cold, or that your bank account is accessible, you begin to lose control. And when enough people feel that loss at the same time, societies fray at the edges. That's why preparing for a blackout isn't paranoia. It's responsibility. Because what we're seeing around the world is not a string of isolated incidents. It's a warning. The systems we rely on every day are more fragile than we think. And whether the next blackout lasts an hour, a day, or a week, your ability to respond depends on what you've done in advance. When the lights go out, it's too late to start preparing. But knowing what to expect, and how to stay safe, can turn fear into confidence and chaos into calm. The critical 3-phase survival rule: 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days. When the power goes out, the first few minutes feel almost surreal. At first, you might assume it's a temporary glitch. Maybe a fuse blew or a neighborhood transformer tripped. But as seconds stretch into minutes and your devices stay dark, your brain begins to catch up with reality. There's no electricity. No Wi-Fi. Your phone's not charging. And outside, the silence feels different. That's when the clock starts ticking, not just in terms of time, but in terms of survival. The first phase begins immediately. Within the first 5 minutes of a power grid failure, your top priority is awareness. You need to quickly determine whether it's just your home or a wider outage. If phones are still working, a quick call to a neighbor or check of a news app may help, though in a larger blackout, even cell towers may be out. If that's the case, the silence itself becomes confirmation. This is the moment where calm decisions matter most. Your first instinct might be to use your phone, open the fridge, or flick light switches repeatedly. But those small habits can cost you energy and resources you'll need later. As you enter the 5-hour mark, your priorities shift. This is where most people begin to feel discomfort. The temperature starts to drop or rise, depending on the season. Devices begin losing charge. Fridges begin to warm up. You're not panicked yet, but you're starting to feel the pinch. This is when survival becomes strategic. You need to conserve whatever energy you still have. If your phone still holds a charge, switch to airplane mode. Preserve flashlights, avoid opening refrigerators unless necessary, and resist the urge to waste time or battery life on social media or games. Water becomes critical during this window. If you rely on electric pumps or municipal systems that depend on the grid, water pressure might start failing. Now is the time to fill bathtubs, sinks, and containers while you still can. Securing a water supply early on is one of the smartest things you can do. At the same time, assess your food situation. What do you have that doesn't require cooking, refrigeration, or complex prep? You might be surprised how quickly fresh food spoils and how fast hunger influences judgment. Prioritize eating perishable items first. A blackout-friendly stash of non-perishable items can buy you time and comfort, but without preparation, you're already falling behind. By the time you reach the 5-day mark, the situation shifts from short-term inconvenience to full-blown survival mode. If power hasn't returned, you are now operating in a new reality. Your routines are gone. Your infrastructure is offline. Now you need a long-term survival plan. This includes managing hygiene, creating heat in the cold or cooling in the heat, and finding ways to stay informed. Without power, hygiene can break down fast. Lack of water, soap, or waste disposal creates a health hazard most people underestimate. Wet wipes, dry shampoo, sanitation tablets, and sealed waste bags are invaluable tools that keep your living space from becoming a breeding ground for disease. Staying warm without central heating or cool without AC takes planning. In winter, block off one room, insulate windows with blankets, and trap body heat. In summer, ventilation becomes more important than anything else. If you're not prepared for temperature control, your physical energy drains fast, and fatigue follows. Communication is another challenge at this stage. Without access to news, you're operating blind. Crank radios or solar-powered emergency receivers can keep you connected to regional updates, rescue instructions, or evacuation alerts. Staying in the loop may be the difference between safety and walking straight into danger. What catches most people off guard is not the initial shock or the long haul, it's the middle. The 5-hour window is where psychological and logistical failure happens most. People get restless. They start using up their phone batteries for entertainment or light. They panic buy, hoard supplies irrationally, or leave home in search of answers. But this phase is where smart action sets the tone for everything that comes next. Those who stay calm, conserve energy, and establish routines are the ones who survive the longest without fear or chaos. This is where preparation shows. It's the bridge between normal life and survival mode, and it's the part most people never think about, until they're already in it. A blackout may start quietly, but its impact grows exponentially with every passing hour. From that first flicker to the 5th day without power, your ability to adapt depends on how you respond in each phase. The better you understand the pattern, the more confidently you can protect yourself and those you care about. Survival isn't about luck. It's about understanding the timeline, and being ready to meet it head-on. Blackout Survival Kit essential. When the grid fails and the power disappears, your survival depends on one thing above all else: what you already have on hand. Once the blackout begins, it's too late to build your emergency kit. Stores close. Deliveries stop. People panic. The shelves empty out faster than you can say flashlight. That's why having a complete blackout survival kit isn't just a smart move, it's essential. And it's not just about collecting supplies. It's about making strategic decisions that support your water intake, your nutrition, your safety, and your ability to function under pressure. Let's begin with the most important element in any emergency: water. Without it, survival becomes a matter of hours rather than days. In a blackout, your water supply can become compromised quickly, especially if you rely on electric pumps or live in an apartment building where water pressure depends on powered systems. The first priority is storage. Keeping sealed water containers in your home ensures you'll have immediate access when the taps stop running. Collapsible jugs are a smart investment because they don't take up space when not in use but can be filled in moments. They're also portable, which matters if you need to relocate or share supplies. For purification, water tablets are an efficient backup. They're cheap, easy to store, and capable of killing most pathogens with minimal effort. One small bottle can purify dozens of liters. And for longer-term resilience, tools like Life Straw personal filters give you the ability to drink from almost any freshwater source. A single Life Straw, priced around $20, can filter up to 1,000 liters of water. That's peace of mind in your pocket. Next comes food, the fuel that keeps your energy up and your brain focused. In a power outage, forget about gourmet cooking. You need high-calorie, shelf-stable meals that require little or no preparation. Granola bars, peanut butter, canned beans, tuna, and dried fruits all store well and offer essential nutrition. Ready-to-eat military-style rations, known as MREs, have become increasingly popular for emergency kits. Each MRE contains enough calories for a full day, is vacuum-sealed for long shelf life, and many include their own flameless heating packs. Brands like XMRE or ReadyWise offer starter kits ranging from $30 to $100, depending on quantity and variety. The key is to stock foods that won't spoil, won't require refrigeration, and can be eaten cold if necessary. Keeping your metabolism steady helps your immune system stay strong and your decision-making sharp. Power is one of the first things lost in a blackout, and unfortunately, one of the hardest to restore. But with the right tools, you can keep your most essential devices running long after the grid goes down. A good survival kit should include solar chargers that work with smartphones and small electronics. These foldable panels are lightweight, portable, and ideal for sunny climates. Look for brands that offer USB compatibility and at least 10 watts of output. They usually range between $40 and $70. Crank-powered generators are another excellent choice. They don't rely on the sun, so they work in all conditions. With just a few minutes of manual turning, you can generate enough power to charge a phone or power a small radio. Devices like the FOSS Power emergency radio include built-in hand cranks, solar panels, and battery compartments all in one unit, making them invaluable during extended outages. Power banks also serve as short-term energy reserves. Fully charged before a blackout, they can keep a phone or flashlight going for days. High-capacity models, like Anker's, once darkness sets in, lighting becomes both a practical need and a psychological comfort. In total blackouts, your ability to navigate your home or environment safely depends entirely on your backup light sources. Headlamps are ideal because they keep your hands free while illuminating wherever you look. Models with LED bulbs and rechargeable batteries are recommended for efficiency. Lanterns provide 360-degree lighting for group settings or rooms and are safer than open flames. Battery-powered lanterns with dimming features allow you to conserve energy without compromising visibility. Candles are a backup option, but they carry fire risk and should never be used unattended. Flameless alternatives such as LED tea lights can offer ambience and orientation lighting with zero hazard. For extended use, lithium batteries tend to outperform standard alkalines, especially in colder temperatures. Communication during a blackout can make the difference between isolation and awareness. When mobile networks fail, as they often do in widespread outages, you'll need a different way to stay connected to the world. Crank radios that receive AM, FM, and NOAA weather channels are essential. They offer real-time alerts about the status of the power grid, incoming storms, or civil guidance. Some models also come with USB ports to charge your phone and integrated flashlights, making them multi-use tools in your kit. For two-way communication, walkie-talkies are incredibly useful. In urban areas, cell service may be down, but short-range radios still work. They allow families, neighbors, or rescue teams to coordinate movements or share updates. Rechargeable models with long-range capabilities are priced from $30 to $80, depending on brand and range. Having a printed emergency frequency list, especially for NOAA and local emergency services, is an underrated yet vital piece of your preparedness plan. Staying warm or cool depending on the season is often overlooked until discomfort turns into danger. In cold conditions, your best friend is insulation. Space blankets, made from reflective mylar, are compact yet capable of preserving body heat. They're especially useful in emergencies because they fold to the size of a wallet and can be deployed in seconds. Hand warmers, available in both disposable and rechargeable varieties, add layers of comfort and safety. For cooling, battery-operated fans can help manage heat exhaustion in hot weather. Ventilation is crucial. Reflective sunshades can be used to block windows, while breathable clothing can prevent overheating. If you live in a region with temperature extremes, consider investing in a small solar fan setup or emergency heating candles designed for indoor use. These often run under $20 and can make a significant difference in comfort and survivability. Hygiene becomes increasingly important as time passes without running water. In just a couple of days, unwashed hands, unclean surfaces, and unmanaged waste can turn your shelter into a health risk. Wet wipes are a must-have for cleaning skin and surfaces. They substitute for soap and water when supplies are limited. Sealed toilet bags, sometimes called wag bags, offer a sanitary solution for human waste in places without plumbing. Feminine hygiene products should also be included and rotated regularly to ensure freshness. A compact hygiene kit should contain toothbrushes, toothpaste, biodegradable soap, and alcohol-based hand sanitizer. These items are easy to store, lightweight, and inexpensive, but in a blackout, they're priceless. Medical readiness is non-negotiable in any survival kit. A basic first aid kit should include bandages, antiseptics, gauze, tweezers, and scissors. But for true preparedness, you also want to stock common over-the-counter medications like pain relievers, anti-diarrheal tablets, antihistamines, and electrolyte powders. If anyone in your household has allergies, keeping spare epinephrine injectors or allergy meds could be life-saving. Don't forget personal prescriptions. Store at least a week's supply in your kit and rotate to keep medications within their expiration date. For wound care, antiseptic creams, alcohol pads, and medical tape are critical. Infections can escalate quickly without access to clinics or hospitals. Having basic tools on hand can buy you time and prevent complications. Security often becomes a concern in prolonged blackouts. When alarm systems go down and emergency services are stretched thin, personal safety becomes your responsibility. A tactical flashlight with a strobe function can serve as both a light source and a deterrent. Many modern tactical flashlights come with reinforced bezels for self-defense and cost between $20 and $50. Pepper spray is another effective option for deterring threats without resorting to lethal force. Small padlocks can help secure supply storage or entry points. And a simple whistle can serve as both an alert and a call for help. In emergency situations, sound carries further than you'd think, and a whistle never runs out of batteries. These items, individually, may seem basic. But together, they create a survival system. Each tool, from the water filter to the crank radio to the hygiene wipes, plays a role in extending your independence when the world around you goes dark. A Blackout Survival Kit isn't just a box of gear, it's a plan. It's a statement that says you won't be caught off guard. That your home won't descend into chaos. That when the power fails, you'll still have what matters most. Preparedness doesn't mean paranoia. It means resilience. It means taking control before you lose it. And in a world where the grid is increasingly unstable, taking the time to build your kit now may be the most powerful decision you ever make. Home setup, turning your house into a blackout fortress. When the grid goes down and darkness creeps in, your house becomes either your sanctuary or your greatest vulnerability. The way you prepare your home before a blackout determines whether you'll be safe and self-sufficient, or cold, hungry, and anxious. Turning your house into a blackout fortress isn't about extreme prepping. It's about making strategic changes that allow you to survive inside your home without power for days or even weeks. A few small adjustments now can mean the difference between panic and peace when the lights go out. The first threat during a blackout is time. More specifically, the countdown begins in your kitchen. Your refrigerator and freezer are essentially ticking clocks. Without power, a standard fridge stays cool for about 4 hours if left unopened. A full freezer can hold its temperature for about 48 hours. That gives you a short window to secure what you can and minimize waste. During this time, you need to avoid opening the fridge door unnecessarily. Every time you do, you release cold air and reduce the lifespan of your perishable goods. One of the most effective tactics is to group items by priority. Move the most perishable foods to a cooler with ice packs and consume them first. Freeze bottles of water ahead of time and keep them inside the freezer to extend cold retention. As they melt, they provide drinking water too. Cooking during a blackout is often one of the most underestimated challenges. With no electricity, your microwave, oven, and electric stove become useless. That's where backup cooking methods become critical. A portable gas stove, like those used in camping, offers quick and reliable heat. Propane or butane models are affordable and can run for hours on a single cartridge. Rocket stoves are another powerful alternative. They're compact, efficient, and burn small twigs or biomass to produce concentrated heat with minimal smoke. For those looking for sustainable, long-term solutions, solar ovens are surprisingly effective. They use mirrored reflectors to trap sunlight and can cook or bake meals slowly during daylight hours. These devices require no fuel and generate no smoke, making them ideal in suburban or urban settings where discretion may matter. Maintaining comfort and safety in your home also means controlling your internal environment. During cold months, insulation becomes your best friend. Without power, your heating system won't function, so you'll need to trap warmth as effectively as possible. Focus your activity in one central room and seal off the others. Block drafts using rolled towels or foam strips. Tape thick blankets or survival foil over windows to stop heat loss. In warmer climates or summer blackouts, the strategy reverses. You'll want to ventilate, use airflow to your advantage, and block direct sunlight with heavy curtains or reflective material. Small battery-operated fans and damp cloths can help manage body temperature. Another trick is to use mirrors strategically. Reflective surfaces can bounce candlelight or lantern glow around a room, making a single source feel much brighter. Storage is an often overlooked part of blackout planning, and it can make or break your readiness. You might have the best supplies in the world, but if you can't access them or they've spoiled due to heat, they're useless. The location of your stockpile matters. Avoid attics for long-term storage. Temperatures in attics can fluctuate wildly, degrading food, batteries, and even plastic containers. Garages are not ideal either, especially if they are uninsulated or prone to flooding. Instead, choose cool, dry, interior spaces. A closet, spare room, or even under-bed storage can work. Shelves should be stable, labeled, and rotated regularly. Always check expiration dates, especially for medical items, canned goods, and fuel canisters. Having a storage plan also means making sure supplies are accessible in the dark. Keep glow-in-the-dark stickers or reflective tape on container handles and store items in predictable, easy-to-reach spots. Energy independence, even partial, can dramatically improve your blackout experience. Portable solar panels have come a long way in recent years. They're now more efficient, lighter, and more affordable. A 100-watt folding panel connected to a small power station can keep your phone, light sources, and radio operational for days. While this won't run major appliances, it's enough to stay informed, maintain communication, and charge small electronics. Panels should be placed in direct sunlight, preferably outdoors or near a south-facing window. For best performance, adjust the angle throughout the day. Pairing your solar array with a deep cycle battery or power station means you can store energy during the day and use it at night. If your home setup allows, consider installing rooftop panels with battery backups. Even a partial home system can give you enough energy to run a refrigerator or critical medical device for a few hours each day. Water is another area where home setup can make a major difference. If your water supply depends on electricity, such as an electric well pump or a municipal system that needs powered boosters, you'll lose access quickly. Many homes have large water heaters that double as emergency reservoirs. These tanks often hold between 30 and 50 gallons of water. Locate the drain valve at the base of your heater and ensure you have a food-safe hose to extract water if needed. In addition, keep rain barrels or water collection containers outside. If you live in a region with rainfall, these can provide supplementary water for cleaning, flushing, or even drinking with proper purification. Gravity-fed water filtration systems, such as ceramic filters, can turn collected water into a safe resource. The goal is to have water available in multiple forms, stored across several zones of your home, without relying on pumps or municipal pressure. Nighttime introduces a different kind of challenge in a blackout: psychological stress. Darkness increases vulnerability. It's harder to navigate, harder to sleep, and harder to feel secure. Without proper planning, your home can become a confusing maze after sunset. Place candles, lanterns, and flashlights in designated zones ahead of time. Use LED motion sensor lights in hallways or bathrooms to prevent accidents. Consider adding blackout window covers not just for insulation, but for privacy. When your lights are on and the neighborhood is dark, it can make your home a target. Controlling how much light escapes gives you a tactical advantage. Noise discipline is another key factor. During extended blackouts, generators, radios, or even conversations can travel far through the still air. Be aware of what can be heard from outside. Establishing quiet hours, limiting external activity, and maintaining a low profile at night can protect you more than any lock ever will. Mental calm is just as important as physical comfort. Set up a command center in your home, one spot where your flashlight, power bank, radio, maps, and emergency contacts are always kept. This central location reduces confusion and gives everyone in your household a sense of structure. The presence of routine, even during chaos, can dramatically reduce panic. Children and pets are especially sensitive to environmental changes, so maintaining normalcy through familiar objects, stories, or games can help stabilize their emotions. By converting your home into a blackout-ready zone, you're not just preparing for disaster. You're reclaiming control. You're turning what could be a cold, dark, and dangerous situation into a manageable challenge. Every element, from the way you seal your windows to how you cook dinner without power, adds up to resilience. Your home becomes a buffer between you and the chaos outside. And while others may be caught off guard, fumbling in the dark, you'll be centered, focused, and ready. The goal isn't to survive in fear. It's to live in confidence. Because when you've taken steps to prepare your home for a blackout, the silence of a powerless night isn't threatening, it's empowering. Urban versus rural survival strategies. It's where you live will shape how you survive. A blackout in the heart of a bustling city is a very different experience from one in a quiet rural area. Each environment comes with its own risks, advantages, and challenges. Understanding those differences, and preparing for them, is the key to making the right decisions when everything else shuts down. In urban settings, density is both a blessing and a curse. Cities offer closer access to emergency services, hospitals, supply stores, and shelters. But they also concentrate vulnerability. When millions rely on the same power grid, the same public water system, the same roads, and the same cell towers, one system failure can ripple through the rest in minutes. Within hours of a major blackout, grocery store shelves are empty. ATMs stop working. Elevators stop mid-floor. Traffic snarls into chaos as lights go dark and public transit stalls. And when people realize the power isn't coming back anytime soon, panic spreads quickly. Crime can increase. Supplies become scarce. Tempers flare. Still, urban areas often benefit from faster response times. Emergency shelters, military deployment, and aid distribution can be coordinated centrally. But that only works for those who know where to go and how to get there. And that assumes it's safe to leave home. During city-wide outages, people often face the choice of bugging in or bugging out. Bugging in means staying in place, securing your home, rationing supplies, and waiting it out. It requires a stocked survival kit, clean water, alternate power, and a secure space. Bugging out, on the other hand, means evacuating the area. This may be necessary in cases of civil unrest, fire hazards, or medical needs that can't be handled locally. In cities, bugging out can be difficult. Roads become congested, and public transportation is unreliable or unavailable. In rural areas, the situation is almost the opposite. There's more space, fewer people, and often more self-sufficiency built into daily life. Many rural residents already use well water, wood stoves, or backup generators. They may have gardens, livestock, or local storage of food and fuel. The immediate collapse seen in cities is less likely. But rural blackouts tend to last longer. Help is slower to arrive. There are fewer hospitals. Fewer resupply points. And if communication is cut off, isolation becomes a real danger. When rural grids fail, people often don't realize the scale of the disaster until days later. That makes preparation critical, because no one is coming to help anytime soon. Bugging in is usually the default for rural residents. The distance to any alternative location can be too great to justify leaving. But there are cases when bugging out becomes necessary, especially if wildfires, floods, or medical emergencies create unlivable conditions. Unlike in cities, roads in rural areas may remain clear, but fuel may be limited. That's why transportation planning matters no matter where you live. In both urban and rural environments, personal transportation is your lifeline. During a blackout, cars might seem like the obvious solution. But if gas stations can't pump fuel, and roads are clogged or unsafe, you need alternatives. Bicycles are incredibly efficient. They don't require fuel, don't rely on infrastructure, and can navigate around traffic. In dense areas, electric scooters or skateboards with solar charging add mobility when walking isn't practical. In rural zones, having stored fuel, properly contained and rotated, is a smart strategy, but one that requires planning. Fuel stabilizers can extend the regardless of where you are, one truth remains: you need a go bag. Even if you plan to shelter in place, a packed, ready-to-grab emergency bag can make all the difference. In an urban setting, it might be your ticket out if civil unrest breaks out or your building becomes unsafe. In a rural setting, it might be what keeps you alive if you have to leave for a medical emergency or wildfire. A proper go bag should contain food, water, medical supplies, a flashlight, extra clothing, copies of important documents, and something to communicate with, whether that's a whistle, a two-way radio, or a pre-written emergency contact list. Even if you never use it, knowing it's there gives you a psychological edge. You won't waste time scrambling when every second counts. Community support plays a huge role in how these scenarios unfold. In cities, apartment buildings and neighborhoods that organize ahead of time can pool resources, rotate shifts for safety patrols, and support vulnerable residents. In rural towns, neighbors who already rely on each other for seasonal work, farm tools, or local emergencies often band together more naturally. But without a plan, even tight-knit communities can fall into chaos. Communication protocols, shared supplies, and neighborhood watch plans can make a dramatic difference in survival outcomes. At the end of the day, there's no perfect location in a blackout. Urban centers collapse faster but recover faster. Rural areas hold out longer but may face longer-term isolation. Your success will come down to how well you've anticipated your environment's weaknesses and built systems to counter them. Whether you're surrounded by skyscrapers or open fields, a blackout levels the playing field. The power is gone. The systems are offline. And the only thing standing between you and the unknown is what you've prepared ahead of time. Protecting your family and communication plan. When the lights go out and uncertainty takes over, protecting your family becomes more than just a responsibility, it becomes your mission. In a blackout, there is no second guessing. Every moment counts, and every action must be rooted in preparation. One of the most important things you can do before any crisis unfolds is create a simple, clear family communication plan. This plan isn't just about making sure everyone is safe. It's about making sure everyone knows exactly what to do when everything around them stops working. Start by choosing a meeting point that is familiar, accessible, and safe. This location should be somewhere close to home but outside the building, in case evacuation is necessary. If the situation escalates and returning home becomes impossible, you'll need a secondary meeting point, preferably in a public location such as a local park or library that doesn't rely on electricity to function. This may sound like over-planning, but during a blackout, when phone signals may be down and transportation disrupted, having a pre-agreed place to meet is essential. It reduces panic, eliminates guesswork, and keeps your family united in the face of confusion. Children, in particular, need to be part of this plan. They must know what a blackout is, what it means, and what they should and shouldn't do. Blackout education can be empowering for kids if presented correctly. Teach them the basics, what it means when the lights go out, why they shouldn't panic, and how to respond calmly. They should understand never to use open flames like matches or candles without adult supervision. Show them how to use a flashlight, and where to find emergency supplies. Explain noise discipline, how during blackouts, especially in cities, it's important to stay quiet, stay inside, and avoid drawing attention. Children who know what to expect are more likely to stay calm and less likely to freeze under stress. While digital tools are convenient, they're also vulnerable. That's why it's important to keep a physical copy of emergency contacts in your survival kit. Write down phone numbers of relatives, neighbors, medical professionals, and local emergency services. Include addresses, too, in case someone else needs to guide a child or elder to safety. During a long-term power outage, a printed contact list could be the only thing connecting you to help. Store this list in a waterproof bag, and keep duplicates in your go bags and home command center. This simple step could be a lifeline if phones are dead and internet access is gone. When digital communication fails, primitive signaling methods still work. Flashlights are more than just tools for seeing in the dark, they can be used to send signals. One common method is 3 short flashes, 3 long flashes, and 3 short flashes again, the international SOS distress signal. This can be seen from a distance and is easily repeated. Whistles are another low-tech, high-impact tool. One blast can mean attention. 2 can mean danger. 3 can mean help. These codes can be agreed upon in advance and used inside or outside the home. They're especially helpful in larger properties or during evacuations where voice commands may not carry. Establishing a few simple signals in advance gives your family a language that works even when everything else fails. Community becomes a double-edged sword during extended blackouts. On one hand, neighbors can be allies. They may have tools, skills, or supplies you lack. On the other, desperation can shift the dynamic. Someone you once shared morning coffee with could become desperate enough to steal. So the question arises, how do you help without compromising your own survival? The key lies in boundaries and shared planning. Before disaster strikes, talk with your closest neighbors. Ask about their plans, discuss how you might support each other, and share knowledge. If a blackout hits, you already have a relationship built on trust. Maybe one neighbor has solar power and another has medical training. Together, you can create a small safety net. But at the same time, protect your home. Don't reveal the full extent of your supplies. Don't advertise what you have. Keep your resources secured and out of sight. Be helpful, but cautious. Share only what you can afford to lose, and always prioritize your family's needs first. In moments of true crisis, your family needs not only gear but guidance. Having a leader in the household, someone who can make decisions quickly and keep morale steady, is just as valuable as any tool. But leadership isn't just about giving orders. It's about listening, staying calm, and modeling the behavior you want to see in others. Children and spouses take emotional cues from the strongest voice in the room. If you panic, they will. If you stay composed, they'll follow suit. Creating a routine during a blackout helps everyone feel more in control. Whether it's scheduled meals, regular check-ins, or shared chores, a little structure can prevent emotional collapse. Protecting your family in a blackout isn't about living in fear. It's about creating clarity in chaos. When you've planned ahead, when everyone knows where to go, what to do, and how to stay in touch, you eliminate panic and build trust. In the dark, confusion can be as dangerous as any threat. But when your family has a plan, even the darkest night can be met with confidence. Common mistakes that get people killed in blackout. When a blackout hits, survival depends not only on what you've prepared, but also on what you avoid doing. The first few hours often feel manageable. But it's in the days that follow, when the silence deepens and the uncertainty sets in, that people begin making fatal decisions. These mistakes aren't always dramatic. Sometimes, they're simple misjudgments that snowball into irreversible consequences. And the tragic part is that most of them are completely preventable. One of the most common and dangerous habits people fall into is relying on the internet as their primary source of information. In normal life, that's how we check the news, monitor the weather, and connect with loved ones. But during a major blackout, cell towers can fail, routers die, and mobile data becomes unreliable or disappears entirely. People keep refreshing news apps or scrolling social media, hoping for updates, wasting precious battery life in the process. When no information comes, fear takes over. Instead of preparing mentally for an extended outage, many people spend those early hours in denial, clinging to the hope that the grid will return any moment. That false sense of reassurance can delay critical decisions and leave families vulnerable. Another silent killer during blackouts is the misuse of candles. In the absence of electric light, many reach for open flames without thinking twice. A single knocked-over candle can turn a dark room into a fire trap in minutes. And when homes are closed up to retain heat, fire spreads faster. People light candles near curtains, on unstable surfaces, or leave them burning unattended through the night. The result? House fires during blackouts are more common than most realize. Emergency services may be delayed or completely unavailable during widespread outages, which means even a small fire can quickly become fatal. Battery-powered lanterns and LED lights are a safer option, but without preparation, people fall back on whatever they can find, often with tragic results. Food storage also plays a role in how well a household copes, and here, hoarding becomes a quiet hazard. Many assume they can rely on their full fridge and freezer during an outage. But without power, perishable food begins to spoil within hours. People continue to open fridge doors, eat food they believe is still good, and end up suffering from food poisoning or bacterial infections. Others may hoard fresh produce and meats, thinking they're prepared, only to find themselves with nothing edible 2 days in. When the grid is down, the only safe food is shelf-stable food. That means preparing before the blackout, not trying to manage fresh items after the fact. Water, too, becomes a silent danger. In a functioning home, clean water comes with the twist of a tap. But when electric pumps or filtration systems fail, that reliability vanishes. People collect rainwater, scoop water from local ponds, or use emergency reserves, but fail to filter or boil it properly. Contaminated water carries bacteria, viruses, and parasites that can cause severe illness. Diarrhea, vomiting, and dehydration can escalate into life-threatening conditions when medical care is out of reach. Without proper filtration or purification, every sip becomes a gamble. Perhaps the most underestimated threat during a blackout is human behavior. Emotional breakdown is real, and panic spreads fast. In the absence of information and light, some people fall into despair. Leaders in families or groups may become reactive, paranoid, or indecisive. This breakdown in leadership leads to confusion, poor communication, and bad decision-making. Others go the opposite direction, taking charge with false confidence, giving orders without understanding the risks. In both cases, the lack of calm, rational planning puts everyone at greater risk. Finally, as the days drag on and desperation grows, the social contract begins to fray. Theft becomes more common. Deception takes hold. Neighbors once trusted begin asking uncomfortable questions about supplies. In times like this, trusting the wrong person can cost you everything. Opening your door to someone with a story might feel humane, but without boundaries and precautions, it could lead to robbery, violence, or worse. Being kind doesn't mean being naive. During a blackout, you must be alert, measured, and careful. Mistaking desperation for friendship can be fatal. Blackouts reveal more than the fragility of systems. They expose the fragility of assumptions. By avoiding these common mistakes, you not only increase your odds of surviving, you also prevent yourself from becoming part of a crisis within the crisis. The real danger isn't just in the dark. It's in what people do once it arrives. Psychological survival, staying calm and mentally strong. Blackouts don't just shut off the power. They shut off the world as you know it. The lights go out, the noise disappears, and you're left with silence, uncertainty, and your own thoughts. For many, this is when panic creeps in. The fear of isolation, the dread of the unknown, the quiet question, what if this never ends? These emotions are not just normal. They're expected. But they can also become your greatest threat if you let them take control. Blackout anxiety begins with uncertainty. Is the outage local, or has something catastrophic happened? Without the ability to check the internet, contact others, or listen to news, your imagination fills in the blanks. Fear thrives in the absence of facts. In this vacuum, small problems start to feel enormous. A few hours without power feels like a signal that the entire system is collapsing. And that's exactly why establishing routines becomes critical. In chaos, routine is order. Creating a daily rhythm, even one based on limited resources, can restore a sense of stability. Waking, eating, checking supplies, playing games, and sleeping on a schedule helps reset the mind and reintroduce normalcy. Distraction is not avoidance, it's survival. During prolonged blackouts, especially when nighttime brings long hours of darkness, the brain needs stimulation. Without it, anxiety festers. Reading physical books, playing analog games, journaling, or listening to offline music can redirect attention and keep the mind active. These small comforts, when shared with family or housemates, create emotional bonding and a sense of purpose. Children, in particular, need this kind of grounding. When adults appear calm and structured, children mirror that behavior. When adults panic, children internalize that fear and magnify it. Leadership during a blackout is not about barking orders. It's about emotional stability. When others begin to spiral, panicking over food, speculating wildly, or lashing out, it's the calm, clear-headed presence that brings people back down. If you're in a position of influence, your tone, your body language, and your willingness to listen matter as much as your decisions. A blackout exposes people's vulnerabilities, and the best leaders recognize that strength means more than survival skills. It means being the anchor when others start to drift. One powerful technique during a blackout is what some survivalists call information fasting. It may seem counterintuitive in a crisis, but limiting your exposure to unverified information can prevent emotional overload. In the absence of reliable news, rumors spread like wildfire. One overheard conversation or a misread message can trigger mass panic. Instead of chasing updates or speculating, focus inward. Monitor your environment. Stay present. Make decisions based on what you know, not what you fear. Mental resilience is not about ignoring fear. It's about managing it. In a blackout, strength isn't just physical, it's psychological. The mind can spiral or it can stabilize. And when you choose to stay calm, stay structured, and stay connected to those around you, you transform darkness into clarity. You survive not just because you're prepared, but because you chose not to panic when it mattered most. The grid might not come back, what then? Most people assume that when the power goes out, it will come back within hours. Maybe a day at most. But there are scenarios where the grid doesn't recover. Not in days. Not in weeks. Possibly not at all. This isn't science fiction, it's a real risk that experts have warned about for decades. One such scenario is a Carrington-class solar event. Back in 1859, a powerful solar flare sent electromagnetic energy hurtling toward Earth, frying telegraph lines and sparking fires. If a similar event struck today, it could disable satellites, knock out power plants, and permanently damage transformers on a global scale. Recovery wouldn't take hours. It could take years. Then there are electromagnetic pulses, or EMPs. Unlike a blackout caused by a technical fault or a storm, an EMP can fry circuits, overload systems, and leave infrastructure in ruins. Unlike a temporary outage, EMP damage is irreversible without massive system overhauls. No power means no supply chains, no refrigeration, no fuel pumps, and no digital banking. In that kind of scenario, your credit card is worthless. But cash still works. So does barter. In communities that survive long-term grid failure, trade often reverts to essentials: food, water, tools, and medicine. Whether society fractures or bands together depends entirely on preparation and leadership. Some people turn to looting and violence. Others form neighborhood alliances, sharing resources and protecting each other. The difference lies in trust, planning, and resilience. If the grid never comes back, the people who survive aren't the ones with the most stuff. They're the ones who prepared to adapt, build, and rebuild. In a blackout, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of preparation. The people who survive best aren't the ones who wait for help. They're the ones who act before the crisis ever arrives. Preparing for a blackout doesn't mean you expect disaster. It means you're ready when it comes. And now, you know how to start. Today is the day to build your Blackout Survival Kit. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Test yourself by turning off your power for 12 hours. No lights. No fridge. No devices. See how it feels. Discover the gaps before they become threats. If this video helped you rethink your readiness, hit the like button, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more in-depth guides on survival, disaster prep, and building resilience in a fragile world. Drop a comment below and tell us, what's in your blackout kit? What did you learn from your last power outage? Because the next one may not be a test.